So it will fetch the records, it will go to switch, it will run all of this, it will go to merge and update the sheet. Hello and welcome to day 11 of the N8N series. So far we have seen multiple forms of triggers, to begin with manual trigger, on-form submission, on-app event, and also chat-based triggers. And we have also seen integration with Gmail, Outlook, Google Sheets, and much more. Also, we have seen how do we integrate with OpenAI, Gemini, and Perplexity. But in all the automations, if we have to go to the next level, then what matters is how the data needs to flow. So what does that mean? Basically, when you are creating automation, it will not be straightforward. You need to add conditions where you tell if this condition is true, then do this. If the condition is false, then do that, and so on and so forth. So that's the way you configure how the data needs to flow. And that's why we have to understand how do we configure these flows. That's precisely what we are going to do in today's session and tomorrow's session. So let's begin and see how we can configure these flows. So I'll create a new workflow, and one of the best practices that we all can get used to is as soon as you create a new workflow, rename it, right? So I'll make this as flow or flows, and here we can always begin with the trigger manually if we are experimenting something, right? And then we will move on to the next steps. Now this could be fetching the details from Google Sheets because we need data to be able to add some conditions, right? So I'll go to action in an app and I'll search for Google Sheets, and we can get rows in sheet. This is basically to fetch rows of information from Google Sheets. So we've already connected the account, so we have that here. Sheet within document, get rows from list, and I'll go here and search for N8N. That's the name that we have given for the sheet, and it actually opens up. That's good. I was supposed to open it, and we can see here, this is the data set sheet that we are going to use, and we have the names and email address over here, right? 5 set of data. We'll come back here. I'll select this N8N, and sheet is going to be the data set 1. Okay, so we can also add filters over here. That is, we can say which column. So for example, name, email address, right? Value, if we want to put some value so that only those information is collected, we can do that as well. So for example, if I go over here and get this Steve and put the value over here and click on execute step, basically we are going to get only one detail. But if I remove this and then execute step, I'll get all the 5 records. So you can see here, right? This is in JSON format. If I go to table, you can see the table, and this is the schema, right? So once this is done, I'll go back, and here is where we are going to add flow. So flow is a bunch of nodes where we have filter, we have if, loop over items, merge, we have compare dataset, execute sub workflow, stop and error, switch, and wait. We're going to cover these 4 and compare dataset, switch, and wait in this 2 videos. Execute sub workflow and stop and error is something that we will be covering a bit later. Let's start with filter, which we've already seen, but let's see in this particular example. So I'll be adding filter. This is basically a node which allows you to put a condition where it goes further only if this condition is true. So value 1, I can say something like email. Okay, you are going to add a particular parameter from the previous steps, and you can have multiple conditions over here, like because this is string, you can say string is equals to, is not equals to, is empty, exists, does not exist, and so on and so forth. In this particular example, we are going to use something called contains. And let's go back. So we have apple.com, we have gmail.com, we have yahoo.com, we have meghna.com, right? So I'll go with gmail.com. All right, so I'll use gmail.com. And when I execute step, out of the 5 records that we had, we get only 2 records, because in the email of each of these 5 records, only 2 emails has gmail.com available in that particular text. And that's what the condition is. You could add multiple conditions, right? You could also mention if it is a and or combination. Okay. And you can also put something like name is not empty or name exists, right? And if you execute, again, it will be 2 of this because both of them have the conditions. But if I make this as or, then all the 5 records should come, because either this condition is true or anyways this condition is true, because all of the 5 records has the name in it. I'll just delete this for now and we'll go with this too. Execute and go back. So this is the manual trigger that we have added. We've added get rows in sheet, okay, which will fetch all the 5 records from this particular sheet. And we have added a filter where the condition is the email should have gmail.com, and 2 of the items out of 5 match this particular condition. So the next step could be anything like sending email, right? So I'll go to Outlook and maybe we'll send an email. Send email and wait for response. No, that's not what we want. Send a message, right? I've already connected my account and resources message and operation is send. 2 will be this particular email address. Subject will be testing email. Message will be simple body. Just sample, right? So I'll click on execute step and the output will be true and true because it is for 2 items, right? So when I click on this particular workflow, this will run and we will be sending emails to 2 of the users. So let me click execute workflow here and we'll see this running smoothly in one go. So it's actually fetching 5 items, 2 items and 2 items. So if we go here, you can see we have sent to akhil@gmail.com, raju@gmail.com, and then Akhil and Raju. So this was when we configuring it, and this is when we clicked on the manual trigger, execute workflow. Now, you might ask me like, Ritesh, if I want to put a condition or a flow where if the condition is true, then I want this particular workflow to run, and if the condition is not true, then I want to run something else. How do I do that? Right? So a lot of times we will also have such requirements. So what we can do is I'll remove this, and I'll delete this particular thing. Of course, I could have just deleted that and this both would have connected. Now I'll click on save just to be sure that we don't lose anything. And I'll go here, I'll go to flow, and we have something called if. So here we can see route items to different branches, true or false. So I'll put this one, and of course I have to firstly map it. I'll get this over here. I'll move this slightly away. And when I go here, I'll have this. So I'll put email, and like we did last time, contains gmail.com, right? I'll execute step and we have 2 items, okay, which was the case even before. But now we also have one more thing, which is false branch, right? So while the filter node allows you to run on items which match the condition, the if node allows you to have 2 branches, one for true condition and one for false condition. So true branch, we have 2 items. False branch, we have 3 items. Okay. So I could connect true branch to this one, and maybe false branch, we can send something else, right? It could also be the same thing. So I would just go to here and click on duplicate. I'll get that over here. I'll connect this one over here. And this one I might tell, sorry, you didn't match the condition, right? And I'll just click on execute step. I'll go back to this one and say, congratulations, you have matched the condition. Just some fun, right? So once this is done, I'll go back to the Outlook. Okay, and we can see that we have got so many emails here. And now when I come back here and click on execute workflow, I should have also changed the subject, but that's okay. So if you go here, you can see 5 emails being sent, and wherever it is Gmail, it says congratulations, right? This and this. And for the other one, it is like, sorry, you didn't match the condition. Sorry, you didn't match the condition. And sorry, you didn't match the condition. And that's how the if condition works. Now, you might tell, Ritesh, this is true and false, but I want where we can have multiple branches, like one for Gmail, one for Yahoo, one for Apple, one for something else, and so on and so forth. How do we do that? So again, I'll delete this. Let's go back, go to flow, and we have something called switch. So switch will have, it can run basis the rules or expression, right? We could also create the rules over here, or we could also create expression. Let's go with rules, right? And for that to work, I'll have to first get this over here, connect this and double click so that we can get the parameters from previous step. I'll use the same thing, email, and I'll put string contains gmail.com, right? That could be one route. I'll click on add routing rule, which becomes the second route. Again, email, string contains yahoo.com, right? I can also rename the output so that I understand what is the first rule and second rule and so on and so forth. So I'll just make this as Gmail. I'll make this as Yahoo. I'll add one more routing rule, which is basically the same thing. And I'll make the string contains apple.com, and I'll make this output name as Apple. Okay. Now we might also want to have a fallback output. Okay. Which means, what if none of this matches? We can also have one route for that, so that we know what needs to be done with items that do not match any of this, right? Now, fallback output, you could default it to Apple output, Yahoo output, Gmail output, or you could also put it to extra output, which means item will be sent to the extra separate output. Okay. None means items will be ignored. Okay. That is what happens by default. I'll put extra output. I'll show you what happens then. Right. So we have added 3 specific routing, and we've also added this extra output. So I'll click on execute step, and we will have Gmail 2 items, Yahoo 1 item, Apple 1 item, and we also have a fallback, which is the meghna@meghna.com. So if we go here, we will have 4 outputs, 4 directions that we can take. So I can say this one goes here, this one goes here. I could just like duplicate this, and I can send this one over here. I can, well, it need not be the same action, right? It need not be sending email. It can be completely different, right? This could be sending a WhatsApp message. This could be sending an email. This could be sending a message on Slack, right? completely different, and it need not be just one step. You can like continue further doing multiple steps from here. Okay, I'll just finish this as well. So I'll duplicate and maybe I'll just tidy up and get this over here and connect this fallback option over here. Click on tidy up again so it looks neat. I'll click on save. Now we have finished the branching. Let's assume that I want to update back to the Google Sheets that this particular item was already run from the system, right? So what I have to do is I'll go here. I'll click on action in the app. I'll search for Sheets. So we have Google Sheets. And then we should have something called update, right? So I'll use that. Google Sheets account, sheet with document, update row, from list. So I'll go here and search for N8N. And then I'll use this particular thing. And the sheet is data sheet 1, right? It's asking column to match on, right? So it could be row number, it could be the name, it could be email address. I'll use the row number, right? So before to this, I'll have to execute the previous step, which is basically this one. I thought I've updated it, but let me just go ahead and execute this. Come back, go here. So you'll get this details here. We could use the row number from here, right? So I'll just use it over here. Okay, this is what we are using to match. Now we have name and email. I'll add one more column here, something called updated, okay, which can be yes or no. I will have to fetch this records again, so I'll just refresh this. I'll get updated here. I'll not touch the name and email. Updated, I'll add it as yes. Okay, so when I execute this step, basically for 3 and 5, which is the gmail.com, it will be updated as yes. Now, I don't want to be adding this step for all of this because it's the same step. So what I'll do is I'll just get it over here, remove this particular thing. We will go to the flow and we have something called merge. Append. Okay, so we have modes here, which is append, combine, and SQL query and choose branch. Okay, so we have 4 modes of merging. The first one is append, which means output items of each input one after the other. Combine, merge matching items together. SQL query is write a query to do the merge. And choose branch, output data from a specific branch without modifying it. Let's go with append. Let's see what happens, right? Number of inputs, we need 4, okay, because we have 4 branches. And I'll click on execute step. Okay, so I'll go back and this is the merge that we have, right? It has connected to our Google Sheets. I'll remove this. And what we need is, this is item 1, this is item 2, this is item 3, and this is item 4. Now when I go here and click on execute step, we will have all the items. Okay, true. Now when I connect this one to Google Sheets, okay, here we are connected to the row number. And when I click on execute step, we will have yes. And that's precisely what we have here. So I'll delete this. I'll go back to N8N flow. And this is how it looks like. I'll click on tidy app. I'll click on save. And let's quickly check once more. So updated is not updated here. And I'll click on run or execute workflow. So it'll fetch the records, it'll go to switch, it'll run all of this, it'll go to merge and update the sheet. And there you go. So that's how you use the flow in N8N. Basis your requirement, you can decide whether you want to use filters, if, switch, or then if you want to combine them so that all the items will have a particular flow together, then you will use merge. In tomorrow's video, let's see a few more things like loop over item, compare datasets, and wait. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please do share it with others and subscribe for the channel if you have still not done it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.